Today we are going to discuss the impact of trade on firms in monopolistic competition. In reality, firms are heterogeneous and perform very differently. After trade, increased competition tends to hurt the worst performing firms. They are forced to exit. The best performing firms take the greatest advantage of new sales opportunities and expand the most. When the better performing firms expand and the worst performing ones contract or exit, overall industry performance improves. Trade and economic integration improve industry performance as much as the discovery of a better technology does. Therefore, we will continue to relax the symmetry assumption imposed on monopolist competition model. Suppose now that firms have very different cost curve as they produce with different marginal cost CI and still face the same demand curve. Figure 1 illustrates the performance differences between firms 1 and 2 when CI is less than C2. Note the demand curve for both firms have the same intercept on the vertical axis, that is P bar plus 1 over B times N. The slope of demand curve is 1 over S times B. Let's take a close look at figure 1. Pay attention to demand and cost curves for firms 1 and 2. Firm 1 has a lower marginal cost than firm 2. That is, C1 is less than C2. Both firms face the same demand curves and marginal revenue curve. Firms 1 and 2 choose output levels, Q1 and Q2 respectively, to maximize their profits. This occurs where their respective marginal cost curves intersect the common marginal revenue curve. Relative to firm 2, firm 1 sets a lower price and produces more output. The shaded areas represent operating profits for both firms before the fixed cost is deducted. From panel A of figure 1, we can find that firm 1 earns higher operating profits than firm 2. Here, operating profits is a function of one firm's marginal cost, CI, that is, operating profit equals the difference of P and CI times Q. Operating profits decrease as the marginal cost increase. Any firm with marginal cost above C star cannot operate profitably and shuts down. Panel B of figure 1 summarizes the industry equilibrium given the market size of S. It tells us which range of firms survive and produce and how the profits will vary with their cost levels, CI. Next, we will discuss the effects of increased market size due to trade. What happens when economies integrate into a single larger market? As was the case with symmetric firms, a large market can support a large number of firms than can a smaller market. This leads to more competition. In addition to the direct effect of increased market size S, these changes will have very different repercussions on firms with different production costs. Panel A of figure 2 shows the effect of increased competition. A higher number of firms N, holding market size as constant, lowers the vertical intercept for demand curve, leaving its slope unchanged. This is induced inward shift from more competition. A direct effect of increased market size S flattens the demand curve, lower slope, leaving the intercept unchanged. This generates an outward rotation of demand curve. Combining these two effects, we obtain the new demand curve D prime, which has a lower vertical intercept and is flatter than original demand curve D. Panel B of figure 2 shows the consequences of this demand change for the operating profits of firms with different cost levels, CI. A decrease in demand for the smaller firms translates into a new lower cost cutoff, C star prime. Sometimes with some firms with the high cost levels above C star prime cannot survive the decrease in demand and are forced to exit. On the other hand, the flatter demand curve is the advantages to some firms with low cost levels. They can adapt to the increased competition by lowering their markup, hence their price, and gain some additional market share. This translates into increased profits for some of the best performing firms with lowest cost levels, CI. To sum up, Figure 2 illustrates how increased market size generates both winners and losers among firms in an industry. The low-cost firms thrive and increase their profits and market shares, while high-cost firms contract and highest cost firms exit. These composition changes imply that overall productivity in the industry is increasing as production is concentrated among the more productive or low-cost firms. And that's all for this section. Thank you.